Welcome back. Is there a chance the value of homes in Metro Atlanta is going to decrease? And what about this 20, 30 million people who are out of a job? What does that mean for us and the economy? We'll talk about these two subjects and probably more during this segment of Your Move Atlanta right here on AM 640, Atlanta's home to Fox News Radio. I'm Cleve Gaddis, and I appreciate you sticking with us through the break. This segment is brought to you by John Birchfield and Capital City Home Loans. John makes it his mission to guide each home buyer step by step through the entire loan process so they are educated and confident in the mortgage options available, and so they can make the best decisions along the way. John has the heart of a teacher, and he can be reached by calling 678-226-7887, 678-226-7887. I talk to many people who tell me, I wish I knew something about my mortgage before I signed on the dotted line to get the mortgage. When you close on a home, you're committing to make payments for 10 years, 15 years, 20, 30 years. I know most people don't do that, but they do make payments on a home for an average of 10 years, probably before they sell. And so don't mess around when it comes to getting good advice on your mortgage. We suggest you reach out to Capital City Home Loans. John Birchfield, 678-226-7887. If you need to reach us, it's easy. YourMoveAtlanta.com, YOURMOVE Atlanta.com. That's where you go. Got a listener question from Linda in Buford. Says, my husband and I are very worried that the value of our home will decrease over the next year. So we're thinking of selling now. How do we know for sure what we should do? And I wasn't able to reach out to Linda. I really would love to reach out to Linda and have a conversation with her. But this is a conversation that we have pretty much every day over the last 4 or 5 weeks. For the first couple of weeks during the coronavirus scare, we didn't have as many of these types of conversations because everybody was just really trying to figure out how to make it from day to day. But now everybody is starting to think, basically, who do I want to be when I grow up from a housing standpoint? Do I want to stay where I am? Is there a chance that where I live is going to be worth a lot less money later this year or next year than it is today? And while I can't answer Linda's question specifically, because I don't know all of the details about her house, I will tell you, if Linda lives in a $2 or $3 million house, then it could be that her home might be worth a little bit less money a little later in the year, because it could be that the amount of inventory available for sale will exceed the number of buyers who are interested in buying a home. But let me tell you about Frank, who we visited with in Marietta. Frank decided late last year that he wanted to sell his house. Let's just call it a $310,000 house. So that puts him very close to the average sales price of homes in Metro Atlanta. So he was unsuccessful selling his house. I think he realizes now that he probably chose the wrong agent to help him sell his house. Because in today's market, especially with coronavirus, you need to have ways of marketing a home so a typical buyer can get a full understanding of what the house has to offer and whether or not it might be something they want to pursue without actually coming there. And the issue is, to do that, it actually takes money because you have to do expensive, fancy, three-dimensional virtual tours to allow somebody to literally walk through the home without actually being there. So Frank is worried that the value of his home is going to decrease moving forward because he didn't do the right things to sell his home when he listed it last year and early this year. He took it off the market just in the last couple of weeks. And we had a conversation with Frank, and we helped Frank understand that that's not something he needs to worry about. Now, there were a few things that were not right with the property, but they're inexpensive things that will take just a few days to get fixed up, cleaned up, get ready to go. The reality is that the market for Frank's house is still very strong. And how do we know it's strong? Well, in that price range, in that area of Cobb County, we know that there's only 1 month's worth of inventory available in that $50,000 price band that Frank's house would fit into. Now, if you're listening and you're thinking, what on earth is Cleve talking about? Well, in one slice of Cobb County, let's just call it 1/5 of Cobb County, we know the number of homes that have sold in that price band, that $50,000 price band, in the last year. And we know how many properties are currently listed in that price band today. And so then we can figure out if X number of homes sold on average per month for the last 12 months, then the odds are as we move forward the same number of houses, and it could be that a few more houses or just a few less houses, but the odds are that the same number of houses are going to sell each month as we move forward. So when we say that it is a seller's market in Frank's situation, we mean that it has less than 4 months worth of inventory, which means there are more buyers out there looking for properties in that price band in that area than there are sellers who are trying to sell properties. And so my suggestion for you, Linda, if you're out there and you're worried, is that you don't need to guess whether or not you should worry about the value of your home. I think a good inventory analysis or an absorption rate analysis for your area where somebody could compute for you the months of inventory available in your price range, in your condition of property. You could do it and only compare it to homes with basements or only compare it to homes that are in neighborhoods with golf communities. You could do whatever kind of analysis you want, but don't just assume that the market is going to be bad later in the year, because it could be that prices continue to appreciate at or equal to the appreciation that took place in the Atlanta market last year. And I would say the average home in Metro Atlanta probably, and let's just take that 250 to 3.25, 250 to 350 price range, that average home last year probably appreciated somewhere in the 6% range, 5% range. So, I mean, when you think about that, you're talking about the average home in Metro Atlanta probably increased in value $15,000 or $17,000 in 2019 alone. And my guess is, Linda, that if your home is in the average price range, you could probably stay in the home if that's what you choose to do. If you want to move on, the question to me, Linda, sounded like you really didn't want to move on. You thought you needed to sell your house so you didn't lose money. And I think you could stay in that home so that you could enjoy it for another year. And if you were thinking of selling next year or the year after, I think you would probably be in just as good a shape. So if you are in the same situation and you're wondering, does it make sense to sell your home now or should I wait and sell my home later? Don't wonder. Don't make yourself anxious, make yourself sick over the situation. Give us a call or go on and visit us online at yourmoveatlanta.com, YOURMOVE Atlanta.com. Click on Contact Us. Tell us you want us say you want an inventory analysis, or just say have Cleve call me, and I will reach out to you and I will run those numbers, Linda, for your specific situation. And if you're out there listening and you want to know the answer in your particular area, just reach out and we'll give you the information so that you will be comfortable and you'll be confident in whatever decisions you make moving forward are the right decision. Let's talk a little bit about the unemployment rate. I like to talk about the employment rate, not the unemployment rate. Right now we have about between 14 and 15% of people who want jobs who don't have a job. Now, that's a big number. We got like 30 million people who have filed for unemployment over the last few weeks. But I want to remind you that when 15 out of 100 people who want a job don't have one, then 85 out of 100 people who want a job have one. So I like to say we're talking about our employment rate, and our employment rate today is still 85%. Now, maybe on next week's show, I'll try to get some statistics. I saw a very interesting article not too long ago that talked about exactly where the unemployment numbers came from. Fascinating. But the reality is that a lot of people who were furloughed and who had lost a job and who had to apply for unemployment, they're in a position to start going back to work. We had a gentleman who was fully employed when he started the process of purchasing a home. Now, we're representing the seller, and he happens to be the buyer. And a few weeks ago, he was furloughed, and so technically his loan couldn't get approved. His home sale was supposed to close on May the 14th. He goes back to work on May the 18th. Congratulations for him, and I love it that anybody who is missing a job, who needs a job, I hope everybody gets their job back, and I hope it happens really, really quickly. But in this case, all we have to do is wait until after the 18th of May, and then we can close, because then the lender can verify his employment. So let's start thinking about things not in terms of unemployment rate and that 30 million people have filed for unemployment. Let's remember that 85 out of 100 people who want jobs still have jobs. And it's really amazing that you can shut down an economy and the economy would still have the ability to make sure that 85% of the people who wanted a job had a job. If you feel like your plans to sell or buy a home this summer were shut down because of the coronavirus, I invite you to think again. My entire team is now MoveSafe certified. We have special protocols in place to help you or anyone you know sell your home so you can move on with life and buy the perfect home for your family. And we do all of this while keeping everyone safe. Now, to learn more, it's easy. Just go to yourmoveatlanta.com, YOURMOVE Atlanta.com, and download our free information guides. We've got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about a first-time home buyer and his wife, whether or not it makes sense for them to move forward purchasing a home. And when the market starts to recover, is there going to be lots of opportunities for people to get scammed? We'll talk about those two things and more. Stick with us. We'll be back.